We're speaking with Dr. Sarah Butcher from the University of South Queensland, speaking to us from New Zealand. Where are you in New Zealand, incidentally?
Oh, I'm down in Dunedin, near the bottom of the South Island.
All right, good to pick up this conversation where there's some commentary at the moment about social media apps and the privacy, especially when it comes to kids or teenagers using those apps. What are you observing is going on in this space at the moment?
Well, at the moment, there's an issue about children's privacy and their age, about accessing some of these apps. And it's about the issue of balance of whether children should be able to access some of the social media apps. Children aren't always necessarily truthful with their age when they sign up to some of these apps. But also the counter argument is giving away the age a risk to their privacy as well. In a number of other countries, the UK has developed what we call an age-appropriate design code. So that's where apps are developed appropriate to the child's age or understanding of what they're sort of engaging in.
And does that all, though, nonetheless depend on what age the child gives, as you've mentioned earlier, whether that's truthful or not in trying to access the app in the first place?
Exactly. And it is one of the issues that a number of the really big social media companies have faced, is generally speaking, a number of the big social media apps, it's over 13, but not everyone is overly truthful with their age. So it is a challenge to manage that, and whether it should be managed or whether a child-friendly version of a similar product could be produced. So it's a real tricky thing to try and balance information that's appropriate for children and their age range. So you can get some of the, like ABC do a ABC Kids app with just child-friendly information, whereas some of the big social media companies that you can access a very broad range of information, which probably isn't appropriate for all ages.
Well, I guess for parents listening to this at the moment, working it backwards a couple of steps, I imagine that a child only can access apps usually via a mobile phone, and they've only got the mobile phone because they parents are paying for it, or they've had the authorizations, because you can't just get a mobile phone willy-nilly. You got to go through an identity check, which you need to be over 18 to do. So is there a role for parents, or even a regulatory way parents can be involved in this?
I think the key point is really for the parent to be engaged with their child's use of social media. In this day and age, many parents do buy their children a mobile phone. It makes school pickup, drop-off easy, after-school care, all of those kind of family life issues easy. So that's usually done in the parent's name. Some parents will use particular tracking software to identify what their child is using, or check regularly the history of what their child has done on a phone that they might have given them. But many children are very tech savvy and will often find workarounds to this. So I think the key point is really for the parent to be engaged in the child's social media or any form of electronic device, the usage that they have with it. Now, some parents would then counter-argue that to me and say, well, that's a breach of my child's privacy, but you're still the parent of the child. So it's that balance within the family dynamics.
Well, I guess amongst this conversation, you've got we've got in our news bulletins today some commentary arising that Gen Z and even younger generations are surprisingly some of those least savvy, according to one survey, about their online, I guess, data security or the risks they pose with posting their age or photographs or videos online. Does that open the conversation for parents about the need to be talking about what they're doing on their apps?
Absolutely. And I think this is where education and awareness is really, really important. And it's always a time to take a pause and think about what information is it you are sharing, why you are sharing it, and do you really need to share that information? So if you've taken a picture of a wonderful view somewhere, but you're away from home, do you need to tag the location at that particular point? Do you need to tag a particular friend or business? So it's always thinking about how can my information be used and who could use it.
And I guess also parents sometimes feel it's a difficult conversation to have, but so often in these spaces we find education and schools become into the picture as another mode of teaching digital literacy and safety. What do you think are some of the approaches need to be taken there when it if the apps, the social media companies aren't, I guess, coming to the party of protecting children online?
I think very much digital literacy has to be part of education nowadays, particularly as schools are using a number of different tools online that are app-based to help teach children. So again, it's really important that digital literacy forms part of the curriculum. And many schools have brought that on board and have those discussions. And some schools will also bring parents in as part of the discussion as well. So I think that's really important. Unfortunately, sometimes you are often speaking to parents who are already aware of the issues. Not all parents have time to keep up to speed with the changes in technology, and some don't necessarily see it as such an issue. So it definitely is it should be part of children's education now. And it's important that parents stay up to speed, but not just parents, adults more generally as well, because many adults who are not parents also play a role in children's lives.
Absolutely, and look, a couple of things that have seemed to sort of develop recently has been that, say, my generation, we had Facebook and Twitter. Almost seems each generation looks for a different platform to where their older generation is. They're on Snapchat and TikTok. Those two platforms, Snapchat and TikTok, what are you seeing specifically with them with regard to are they appropriately managing, I guess, what children are able to access on those platforms?
That's a very good question about moving on, and I think back to even longer ago with MySpace, and then MySpace faded out and it became Facebook, and then that's less trendy. And yes, TikTok it is quite a change for a number of adults in particular because of the way TikTok works, where the data is held by TikTok itself and the company ownership, something that many people don't really think about. And also the sort of the default settings within these particular social media apps change depending on an app. So one app might have a particular level of privacy, whereas another app doesn't. So you can't take it for granted particular settings within an app and how it's used.
Well, Dr. Sarah Butcher, thank you for joining us while you're in New Zealand from the University of South Queensland, privacy law expert. Thanks for helping our parents and, as you say, uncles, aunts and other adults around young people to be a bit more, I guess, savvy about what the risks and challenges are online.
Thanks very much. It's been a great privilege to talk to you. Thank you.